Hello and welcome back to Nordic EV Summit Digital. Today we are focusing on the Chinese car manufacturers, which I personally think is very interesting. Being both the largest market and producer of electric vehicles, China has been at the forefront of promoting the development of EVs. Now more and more Chinese EV brands are looking towards Europe and the American market as well. What can we expect from these brands and how will they impact the traditional European and American car industry? That's something we will look into today.
Thank you, Christina, and my name is Jan Moberg, and as stated in Forbes magazine, according to what Christina just said also, China has really caught up with the West's automotive design abilities and even overtaken it in some areas within one area, which is the electric vehicles. By 2019, there were already 2.6 million battery electric vehicles in China, whereas in Europe we only had 1 million, and in the USA a short million, about 900,000. This according to the International Energy Agency. China also has more home and work chargers than any other part of the world, and more public slow chargers than the rest of the world put together, and over 80% of the global number of fast charging installations.
We are first going to hear from NIO. I actually tested the NIO ES8 already 2 years ago, and that was a little bit mind-blowing, I must say, because the previous Chinese car I've had tested was a rental car in Cuba several years back. It was a bit different, and I really understood then 2 years ago that China has something really cool to offer when it comes to cars. And NIO is China's premium electric vehicle and said to be a rival to Tesla, is about, I think, to enter the European market in next year, being a global startup and a pure electric vehicle brand emerging amidst Corona. How have they managed and what will be their next move? That's something that Hu Shang, who is VP of NIO Europe, is going to tell us more about. And Hu, you can maybe start with introducing yourself and a little bit more, and NIO. We are really looking forward to hearing from you.
Hi, good afternoon to Oslo. Thank you very much for the invitation, Christina. Hi, we got to know already each other 2 years ago. As I mentioned, we are honored have you tested our car 2 years ago in Shanghai, and Yan, we probably meet the first time. As quickly introduced, actually NIO was presented in the Nordic EV Summit last year, and unfortunately we could not make ourselves in person this year, but hopefully next year we can meet again in the beautiful city in Oslo. I'm going to take the following 10 to 15 minutes really introduce about who is NIO, what we are doing, especially in terms of the holistic business model NIO is operating. Why our founder established a company like NIO 6 years ago. And the next step can give also the small news about that. So if you think about 6 years ago, our founder William Li had a vision to redefine the user experience, and he believes this can also transforming the auto industry long-termly. We look at that time who are the most valuable company in 1998 in the world, and you can see 70–80% were from the manufacturing and so-called traditional industry. What happened 10 years later, and again 80% actually dominated by the mobile internet company. That shows how the society is already transformed in the last 10–15 years. And based on that, we try to analyze the experience from the user perspective. So if you look at the chart, we have experience from emotional point of view for the user, but also from the functional experience. And on the x-axis, you can see we have the relevance to the technology from the car and beyond the car. So we say the on the car and off the car. And based on this idea, analysis also the other industry in the different position. We believe that is a new business model we want to establish. And you look at the car is a highly, of course, technical relevant, and also with a relevance to the technology. But more on the emotional experience is the service. So what kind of the holistic service experience that we can offer to our user. And the ground for the service and for the car is actually based on the digital touchpoint, which is highly relevant to the mobile internet. Without that, you cannot really, live as a citizen in the world nowadays. And more than that is beyond the car. So beyond the car, it's really about what is the user enterprise? What about the user community? How we really link the user to the company. It's not only about traditionally in the value chain, the OEM, the car maker, basically will hand over from the moment as a car sent to dispatched to the dealer or importer. So we basically managed all the digital points from the attraction or the interest of the leads and until the whole product life cycle with the user. And that is actually our ecosystem. I call it an ecosystem for Europe. On the ground, you see is the clouds. This actually is the backbone for everything. And also on top is the Neo app. Neo app is with over 2 million downloads, is one of the most popular app among the car makers. And on the top is our vision and objective of the company. We want to be a user enterprise in the world. It's not only in the car industry, but also overall in the industry. And the 5 pillars you can see is actually what we are offering, at least currently, to the Chinese customer. If you look at from the cars, we're offering is a smart EV. Most important features is the photo and also the digital cockpit, as well as the Neo Pilot. Is actually after Tesla, we believe Neo is the second with own in-house competence about the pilot. Recently, we also upgrade called navigation on pilot. It's actually can fulfill almost the day-to-day use currently as an ADAS function. And the second one is the Neo Power solution. What among all the solutions, one is the USP of Neo is a battery swap. Neo is the only passenger vehicle producer in the whole world providing their user a battery swap station. And the next one is the Neo service, outstanding service, and with very much committed personally. The next is our sales channel. We call it the point of sales, and we have a Neo House as our user community venue, and we have also Neo Space where we focus on the car consulting and the sales activity. Last but not the least is the Neo community. We have the Neo Day, we have a Neo Life, we have everything actually which links the user to the brand. If I may mention a number, a survey made by the third party last month in China, call it Net Promoter Index, meaning how much the user will repeatedly purchase your product or how much he will further recommend your brand to the other guys. NIO was luckily with the highest score, followed by Tesla. We got a score of 54%. That means every 2 user would love to recommend. And that is actually the power of the user enterprise, the power directed from the NIO community. And if you look at our technology, as I said, the other thing is in the car. We have the IoT. We have the first AI device in the car. We call it NoMe. And we have our ADAS and AD technology developed in-house, both in Silicon Valley and in Shanghai, as well as in Peking. This is what I mentioned, the NIO Pilot. We have quite a higher take rate about the NIO Pilot package, which is highly actually updatable through the FOTA. This is the newly published Navigate on Pilot on the Beijing Motor Show just last month. And this is what we talk about, the NIO Power. All of the solutions in the middle is the unique battery swap station. Until yesterday, we have installed already 170 battery swap stations all over China. Mostly is also covered the main 3 Chinese motorways connecting north and south, east and south. This is the battery swap. Actually, until today, the data is over 1 million. So I could tell everybody, nobody else have so big data about the battery swap compared to NIO, because we have done 1 million of a battery swap so far from 2018. And the other innovative business approach we announced at the end of August, we call it BaaS, is a battery as a service. With that, we even give the user another possibility. Don't purchase the battery pack at the moment as you purchase a vehicle. Instead, you can lease the battery pack. And that is in combination with our battery swap. Everybody knows in Europe we have Renault Zoe doing the battery leasing for years, which is also successful and leads to even the good sales performance of this special car model. But with a battery as a service, especially for the premium brand, we basically provide, first of all, a battery upgrade possibility, meaning as a BaaS user, you get a chance to upgrade your battery pack for on demand. With that, we really can fulfill on-demand request. And secondly, of course, we can resolve much about worry about the residual value of the electrical vehicle, because the battery pack doesn't belong to you. And of course, we also get the second use of the battery pack working together with the power grid. That's, we call it with the BaaS. NIO is the first company we can do the chargeable is a vehicle. The vehicle is a swappable, but also upgradable. So with that, I think I give a very highlight about how NIO's USP and differentiation. And as our chairman announced the end of the August, Christina also made this announcement at the beginning. Thank you for that. That we are targeting European market, one of the biggest market for premium brand of the vehicle. But more than bringing a vehicle to the European user, we are targeting to bring the user community to the European user, so that to really shape a joyful lifestyle, which is our corporate vision at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yi. Let's move right along to National Electric Vehicles Sweden AB, short NEVS. It's a 100% electric car company that bought Saab back in 2012. based in China and Sweden. NEVS is aiming for mobility solutions that don't necessarily include owning a car. Some of you might have seen the autonomous cube Sango, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about it. Let us introduce Charlotte Eisner, the acting head of sales and brand activation at NEVS. She's been driving the change towards electrification since 2013 and is often booked keynote speaker on smart cities, charging, electric mobility, and so on. Charlotte, welcome, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much for having me and also giving us the opportunity to present to you our newest buddy called Sango, which you can see in the picture here. NEVS, as you rightfully explained, is a Swedish automotive company, but we are totally focusing on the three trends in automotive today: electric cars, connected cars, and also shared mobility and mobility as a service. We are owned from the beginning of 2019. We were partly owned by the Chinese property developer Evergrande, and just going into the summer, they purchased the last parts of our company. So we are now a fully owned subsidiary to Evergrande Automotive. And at least in Scandinavia, people have been wondering, what are we doing? When are we showing our first car to the market? Just to briefly explain what's been happening at the Trollhättan factories the last couple of years is this: we've been proving ourselves for the Chinese market, and a few years ago, they awarded us a production license in China. And there are very few handed out. And for us, this was a big success, of course. And that caught Evergrande's interest in us. And something that we are very proud of is that we are not owned by a traditional automotive company anymore, but instead of a city developer and a property company. And since we see the future as holding a system where robocars, autonomous vehicles communicate directly with the properties, streets, lights, and where vehicles can manage to open up doors, providing access for elderly and all of those people who don't have the money to own their own car or the physical ability to drive a car. This will also make mobility a more fair and democratized way of moving around. So what's happened with NEVS is during the past years, we've been working on hardware solutions for autonomous vehicles, but being part of Evergrande Automotives, we're also part of launching somewhere between 10 and 15 new models of electric vehicles. Most of them will be connected. A lot of them will have a steering wheel still, but focus for us is to be the technology front runner within Evergrande Automotive and to provide a whole new system. And this is what I will focus on today. And we heard from Neo, you're explaining your ecosystem. We also have a vision of an ecosystem for the larger cities, not only in China, of course, but very much so also in Europe and hopefully all over the world. But I would like to start to show you an animated movie. It's 90 seconds long, but it will explain a little bit where we stand. So please show the movie.
Welcome to a planet in crisis. A world with more than 1.3 billion vehicles on its roads. But did you know that today's colossal car fleet is used only 3% of the time? In essence, the solution is simple. We need to transport more people with less cars. We aim to become one of the largest electric vehicle manufacturers in the world within 3 to 5 years. But our next generation of products is not only about vehicles. It's foremost a connected ecosystem of products and services enabling mobility as a service. Revenue streams from electric car sales will be complemented by billions of micro revenue streams that will grow exponentially over the next decade. Car sharing and ride-hailing will become a key driver of growth. It's all made possible by a complete mobility ecosystem consisting of 4 parts. First, we have the traffic infrastructure interface connected to the city. Then, we have an app and other interfaces that users interact with. And there is the fleet management system, which includes tools for maintenance, fleet operations, and data services. And finally, we have a fleet of autonomous vehicles transporting people through the city as a mobility service. We are developing a uniquely flexible vehicle that customizes the interior and ride experience to suit each passenger's personal preferences. A fleet of self-driving cars that are adapted for maximum utilization during all hours of the day. And by increasing the utilization rate from 3% up to 60%, we not only remove cars from the streets, we also reduce transport costs for the city inhabitants. Traveling will be even more convenient than before, giving more people access to efficient mobility and new opportunities to live a richer life. Our solution will have a powerful, positive impact on the environment and our climate. Because what's good for one is good for all.
All right, so having shown you this vision of ours, it's very obvious that the problem we're accessing is not only to provide cars that are run in a sustainable way, battery electric vehicles, but we are also focusing on reducing the number of cars, and this could be a very strange way to introduce a new automotive company to the planet. But this is our main vision now, to have cars, of course, electric, and we are also trying to provide a system where we guarantee that the power charged into the cars come from sun, wind, and water energy sources. But very much so, we would like to see that the more than 1 billion cars that we have in the world today that are actually standing still for 95 to 97% of the time, that these cars will be replaced by shared vehicles. The picture you see here, it's horrifying, but it's also very much the situation we have in plenty of cities today. And this is, of course, not only causing congestions and pollution, but also causing stress that we would like to reduce. So going to the next slide, solving this is in need of a totally new system, a new thinking and radical moves. And of course, it needs a lot of sensors and tracking and connection, and that will provide us with a society that scare a lot of people, of course. But hopefully, looking forward, we will have an acceptance among people for both autonomous vehicles and connected buildings and streets, if we feel that we get a better life quality, not only for the wallet or a life situation or social situation, but of course also for the environment. So going to the next slide. What we will present from NEV's side is an ecosystem we decided to call PONS. And PONS is Latin for the brain, what keeps it all together. And we would like to describe the big cities as a human organism. And what we've been working on are 4 different parts of this system. And one of them is what you see below. It's called Spinen. That would be the backbone, more or less, in the city, where we connect, as I said, buildings and crossroads and lights in order to see where congestions are being made. Where do traffic stop? Where do people stand and wait? Where do stress, where is stress generated in the city, more or less? already now it's possible to connect a garbage bin in order to see that maybe the garbage car does not need to drive every Tuesday up and down the same street, making a lot of queues in the city, because the garbage bin might be only half full. So if we could sensor that and measure that, that's just one physical example what we would do, then we could make sure that the garbage car is not driving there as often as it is now. Another part of development in NEVS today is something we call the oculo. It's the eye in Latin. The oculo center, where we develop the handheld applications, the communication between cars and people. So learning more about when we make the decision as a human being to take our own car or not to, we would like to provide a service that is very much tailor-made for each person living or working in the city. So for example, I think most of us can recognize the feeling that we watch the weather news in the evening and we say, all right, so tomorrow I'm going to take the bike to work, or tomorrow I'm going to work or walk because it's good for me. And then we wake up a little late in the morning, and all of a sudden we find ourselves grabbing the car anyway. And halfway to work, we regret this solution or this choice, because we end up in a car queue, and then we don't find a parking place, and we are ultimately late for a meeting, and then the day is it's not turning out the way we wished. But creating applications that could suggest to you a better solution for travel. And in this, we would also like to work with the mobility solutions that are already present in cities. So we are not advising that our self-driving vehicles would replace subway or trains or buses, but add to the city infrastructure. One very important part of our system is called Coro. It's a fleet management system where we use geofencing to map the cities, and then we manage a fleet of self-driving cars by allocating them to the areas where they need to be. And I will explain a little bit more about this, because this is one of the bigger parts of our system. How to run and maintain a movement in a car fleet like this. And finally, the Sango. The Coro is called heart. I would say that first in this system that we have. And Sango is the little blood cell that runs in the system. So this is why our self-driving car is called Sango. So we could go to the next slide. And you recognize the icons from the film I showed you. And then you see the Oculo and the Coro and all this. And we go to the next slide. And the next one. So what we are aiming for now is to find a few cities, primarily now in Stockholm actually, where we can map and work with this geofencing of a city. And since this is now early phase, we are looking at establishing a pilot somewhere late 2021 or maybe the year after, depending a little bit on legislation and what kind of access we will get to a city. But Stockholm is, to us, a good starting point because we have a liberal legislation in Sweden, and we also have citizens that are used to and very positive to using new technology. And as you know, Swedish people are also very much into applications and smartphones and all this, and shared mobility, and have a high sense of saving the planet, and we can afford it. So going to the next and the next slide. This shows you a little bit about our fleet management system and how it works. And ideally in the future, we will have the cars being used in different modes depending on what time of day it is. So if in the morning and in the afternoon we will transport people to and from train stations and offices, we would like to provide them with a safe and silent environment. This will be a little bit like commuting on a train or an underground, but you will more or less be sitting in a cocoon with a sound shield and also your own fresh air. So you will have a healthy way of traveling with higher comfort. The same car will then be able to have a social mode or a family mode during the rest of the day in order to transport people on a conference or with the sick transportation, elderly people going to the hospitals or whatever. So depending on need, we will be able to transform the car. And of course, looking even more in the future, and this is only on the sketchboard right now, this vehicle could also aid in the last mile transportation of goods. This is something I know cities discuss a lot now with all the e-commerce and all the trucks that are entering and exiting the cities, that there are a lot of extra traffic added because we shop more online. So this is also something we would like to combine and offer shared mobility services to and from the houses. And of course, another idea that we know interests property developers is the possibility to allocate power between different buildings using movable power energy storage. And of course, going forward, this kind of vehicle could provide that kind of service too. So, but this is looking way ahead. Okay, going to the next slide. We're very proud to say that we collaborate with a lot of different companies within Evergrande Automotive, and one of them is AutoX. We heard Neo explaining that you are both in San Francisco area and in China, and so are we. AutoX is present in Palo Alto area and Silicon Valley, and also in Shenzhen. And I have myself been offered the possibility to go up to 70 kilometers per hour for a 45-minute ride in Shenzhen in one of those robo-taxis, level 4, totally autonomous and super cool. I sat down in the car and I thought, I wonder how long it will take me to feel safe and calm in this situation. And to be honest, I would say 30 seconds, because immediately we saw the car's reaction, and it was so soft and very logical. So as they say, the developers of autonomous technology, the car will react in the best of ways. The sum of the best human decisions will be gathered in this system, and I can only agree it is. Okay, so we could go to the next slide. And the next one. And the next one. So the Sango looks a little bit like most of the other companies' autonomous vehicles. It's rectangular with one wheel in each corner. And what is special with our car is that we have the possibility to turn the wheels around like a shopping. When you go shopping, you know, the wheels turn round and round. And this opens for a lot of possibilities when it comes to parking and access and coming close to a building, and also finding a way to deliver and load on goods and people. So, and it's quite big. It's bigger than your standard family car, a little bit wider, but still made to fit in on the streets of today. So this is not going to demand of the city to be radically new or rebuilt. The car is adapted to the city environments that we have now, so it will grow with the cities. We could go to the next slide. And the next one. These are the different modes that we are introducing in the first pilot. And of course, any smart automotive company knows that going electric means less maintenance, and that means less money earned. The automotive industry, going back in the history, has earned most of its money on changing oil and brakes and all this. Electric cars have very few things that needs to be fixed. So how will we earn money going forward? Well, providing a vehicle that is autonomous. Of course, we need to think about what will you do when you are not focused on driving the car? What do you want to do? And one answer could be sleep or rest. Another one could be work or eat. And Nev's idea is really to contribute in changing the business model for the automotive industry, and primarily for our owner Evergrande, to be able to earn money from added revenue streams, providing conference services and also catering and whatever else. And one of the best examples that we have right now is, and I think most family parents can recognize what I'm saying now, is if you have a child and you live, say, north of the city, and this child needs to leave school early to go to football practice or hockey practice, and you have your office a little bit south of the city, very often you need to leave your work way too early and stretch through the city, and then pick up your kid and maybe in panic drive through one of the burger chains and then drop them off at their practice. And this is not an ideal situation. And in our world, we would instead like to provide a way that you could continue work and order the autonomous vehicle to pick up your child. And in that car, you would also have a healthy meal for your kid. You could also actually provide homework service while driving the car and the child to practice. And by doing that, there will be a socially much more sound day for your kid and for yourself. And doing this is also then adding to not only wallet questions or environmental questions, but also very much the social questions. So we could go to the next slide. And the next one. This is just an example of how the applications could look. We would like, of course, to know a lot about what people have, what kind of preferences you have when traveling. And you could be able to order your own private setting, or you could share your service with others. And the next one, next slide. So this is the last one, and I'm just summing it all up. Nev's vision is to shape mobility for a sustainable future. And we do this, but not only providing electrical car, but very much also by providing mobility as a service solutions. And with that, I say thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow, both Hui and Charlotte, this was very, very interesting. For many years now, the big buzzwords in the car industry has been digitalization, connectivity, and autonomous cars, obviously. Is it China? I would like both of you to comment on this. Is it China that is at the forefront when it comes to actually putting this into practice and actually making it happen? Charlotte, go for it.
Lady first.
I would say yes, because there is such a strong will to enter the new mobility market. And looking at our company, we take all means and seek all collaborations to get ahead. So I would say yes. And I think probably also the leadership in China is more progressive, at least, than what we see in the United States at the moment.
Do you have any comment on this, Hui?
Yeah, I can only confirm what Charlotte just said. On one hand, on the government perspective, a lot of support and promotion on the technology application. And second is on the capital market. There's tons of venture capital or PE funds who highly or heavily invested in the AD algorithm, autonomous driving, shared mobility. Like even Neo Capital made those kind of investment quite a bit in the last years. And certainly it's actually from the player on the market. They have this motivation. A company like NEV, Charlotte representing, is offering completely different solutions as a Neo, as a premium brand. So I bet that in US and in China, in US will be in the certain selected states. In China could be very much countrywide. Those two countries, I bet, will be the most advanced country in terms of the autonomous driving technology, as you have seen in Beijing, Shenzhen, Shanghai, or the other cities. We opened even for the robot taxi, like Baidu started to do from last month. I mean, that's I can foresee that will be the trend.
Just a quick question to each of you from the audience. How long does it take to swap a battery? How short time is it from I move into the garage and get back out?
Thank you for the question. Actually, we can take it takes about 3 minutes. You can swap the battery, which is about 540 kilogram heavy.
Okay. Charlotte, one question for you. I mean, do you actually plan to, I have to make this clear, a question from the audience. Do you actually plan to integrate with existing traffic? And what is the biggest hurdle doing that?
Yeah, yes, we plan to integrate because this is the only way. We will plan this is that we will go zone-wise. So the traditional model of entering a country and launching your services, that is not working for us. But instead, we will most probably enter some areas in Berlin, in Buenos Aires, and in Borlänge, which is a small Swedish city, and have these autonomous zones. But in order to provide an easy integration, we need to combine our vehicles with the ordinary, like the traditional cars, bicycles, and walking people. And then people say, hey, this sounds really dangerous. And of course, we see that in the future, when every vehicle is autonomous, that will be a whole lot easier to manage, whole lot easier. So the first period with the integration is the challenging part. But I can also tell you, talking from all of experts and my own experience, that what an autonomous vehicle does when it's not sure of how, say, a child on a bike will react, is it stops. So the one thing we will need is patience going forward now. So and wait, because the vehicle will move when it's safe to move. And what we need is support for a behavioral change. Legislation, of course, but the biggest challenge is behavioral. Most people say, I can afford to own my own car. And then we need to answer, I bet you do, but is it smart, considering? So this is where we need to change.
Yeah. Neo, you launched Hui that you are decided to enter Europe, and you are entering Europe with a Chinese premium brand, and you will compete with Mercedes, with BMW, with Tesla. Why do you think you can compete with these brands?
Yeah, where the confidence come from? I think there's several aspects. First of all, in terms of the mechanic performance and features, new car is really on the same level like all the premium brand. So I don't need to maybe just name one example. We just had a test competition last week organized by the Chinese maiden, and ES6 is actually completely quicker in the 0 to 100 kilometer acceleration compared to Ferrari. Secondly, is the smart function what we are providing in the car. Like I just mentioned, starting from the Nomi AI device, your travel companion, until the FOTA, all the convenience, and with a new pilot and the ADAS functions. What we are offering, obviously, which cannot be offered or easily OTA by everybody. And thirdly is actually the ecosystem we are providing. Like Yan also asked about the battery swap. So who can really make a fully charged battery pack within 3 minutes? Take it 5 minutes in the day-to-day practice. It's still much quicker even than Taycan's 350 kilowatt supercharger. It takes 20 minutes. So, I mean, there's a convenience, there's efficiency, and there's a premium feeling with the smart and mechanical performance.
Yeah, and I remember talking to Nomi in the ESA 2 years ago, and could tell Nomi to put my window down or up, and it could actually know who was talking based on distance in the car, right? So AI is a very important part of your car.
Yeah, definitely. It's the AI is voice controlled and with a deeper learning capacity. Actually, the Nomi today is much smarter than you know her, him, or it 2 years ago. And of course, at that time, Nomi cannot speak Norwegian language yet, but I make sure that when our car enter into Oslo, you should able communicate with Nomi in the local language.
In all our dialects too, or is that maybe too much?
We look forward to that.
I mean, step by step. But,
Yeah, okay.
The first step is Nomi should speak English first.
Yeah, good. Yeah, do you have a question, Jan, or should I take another one?
Well, I just wanted to ask you, Charlotte, since we are in Norway, I mean, what was the use of actually acquiring the Saab plant and the operation?
Well, to be honest, we have a lot of action going on there, prototype building and so on and so forth. But as I said initially, the main reason for acquiring NEVS was the engineering talents that we have, the capability of building prototypes, and the capability of gaining or winning the production license for China. And getting that, we need to prove that we can also produce in Europe. And of course, the many models of cars that are planned within Evergrande Automotive will be produced not only in China, but also in Europe. We are in locations also in Graz and in Ingolstadt. And as some of you might know, we also own a small part of Koenigsegg, the super sports car company Koenigsegg, also a front runner when it comes to new technologies. And as has been communicated from Koenigsegg, they also go towards, I wouldn't say volume production, but with what we've seen with Koenigsegg previously, there will be vehicles in larger numbers than before. So that's why we need factories in Europe, also in Sweden.
It's a very I've been visiting you a couple of times in Trollhättan, and it's amazing to experience a company that is pretty complex culturally too, with the Chinese and the Swedish parts of the company. It's quite fun to experience, and a lot of engineers that had been working with Saab for many years that are now with NEVS. I think quickly.
Yeah, I would say, and we are actually more than 40 nationalities working in Trollhättan in Sweden today. And it's, as you say, fantastic to see the traditional engineering artists that we have combined with the new software people that are also working in Trollhättan. So we have lots of everything now.
We are already out of time, unfortunately. I think we could have been I had so many more questions to ask both of you, but we have to end here. Jan, any last comments?
No, thank you to both of you and good luck. We look forward to following your success.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Make an Arval the key leader in energy transition and sustainability.
For Arval, changing the world is a must, not just a will. It is now time for action. To do so, we must give everyone the tools to have a positive impact on our planet. The offer Good for You, Good for All is a toolbox that has the dual objective of protecting our environment and creating a safer road.
To protect the environment, the Arval Good for You, Good for All toolbox comprises a set of approach, products and services. To reach Arval's customers' objectives in terms of energy transition and CSR ambitions, the Arval Smart approach provides recommendations for relevant vehicles and energies and alternative mobility solutions. To ease the electric vehicle experience and lift the constraints usually associated to EVs, Arval has an all-inclusive offer. It comprises a car, a charging point, and the charging payment. Thanks to a switch option, a combustion engine vehicle is provided to the driver when he needs it, 6 weeks per year. Arval's clients can also combine an EV and an e-bike for a fully comprehensive mobility experience. Last but not least, to optimize their energy consumption, Arval will also offer soon to its clients and drivers a vehicle-to-grid offer.
With this offer, we cover already the biggest European countries, and we will cover all the Arval countries by 2025. At the end of the plan, we'll have 500,000 electrified vehicles on the road and a 30% reduction of our fleet average CO2 emissions.
For road safety, in 2025, Arval targets to reduce the overall accident rate of its fleet by 10%. In addition to its road safety programs, Arval proposes a specific offer to encourage its clients to choose vehicles equipped with advanced driver assistance systems. With a reduction of insurance premium for these vehicles, Arval will help reduce the accident rate and increase the overall road safety.
More than ever, Arval is a credible partner to make a positive impact together with our customers and drivers, reducing their environmental footprint and increasing road safety. This is what the Good for You, Good for All offer is all about.
And we're back, and now we want to talk a little bit about fleets and corporate fleets. And with me today I have Mikkel Ben Abdallah, who is the CEO of Arval in Norway. And you've had that position for almost 3 years, and I know that you already speak Norwegian, which is not that normal for French people coming here, is it?
Yeah, I've done some learnings, and I can understand quite correctly, but I would say I'm more comfortable to speak in English.
Yeah, but we do it in English because we have an English audience today. Yeah. So yeah, we are here to talk about electrification in corporate fleets. And Arval, you have recently launched a strategy when it comes to electrification, and I know that you're very progressive when it comes to electrifying your fleets. Would you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago, our CEO launched Arval Beyond, which is the name of our new strategic plan up to 2025, where we have 4 pillars in our offer. And the one you just seen, Good for You, Good for All, is the pillar concerning fleet electrification, green solution. We have also one of the other pillars is 360 mobilities. We have also one other pillar which is connected car and flexible, which is all the service you could provide around connected services. And the last one is more for developing partnership, is what we call Arval Inside.
Great. We were just listening to two Chinese companies that were pretty progressive as well,
Yeah.
and in a certain way also challenging existing leasing
Yeah.
companies. Do you have any comment?
I think this market is very disruptive, so it's interesting to see all this innovation. And ourselves also we had to innovate, and we have to our let's say historic business is full leasing, and we had to develop also to integrate now new mobility solution. So we try also to be disruptive in.
Definitely an interesting business to participate in at the moment.
Yeah.
So what size is the corporate fleet when we look at market size in total now in Europe, for example?
So when we look at the figures, 50% of cars are sold to private individual, and 50% are sold to corporates. When we take this 50% sold to corporate, we have to remove the part which is sold to rent-a-car and to demo fleet in the dealer networks. So we find that what we call real true fleet is 35% of the sales. So 35% of the new car sales are representing this fleet business.
And private leases is increasing as well.
Yeah, private leasing also is the trend is also clearly increasing.
And that's
in
the
many markets.
Most, yeah, and
Yeah.
even in Norway as well.
Yeah, even
It's
in
the
Norway
same
also.
numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, and when it comes to EV adoption, how is it going when you look at the corporate fleets?
So we see that we have clearly good trends in corporate fleet in terms of EV adoption. We see that at least Norway is still a leading country. Even if in Norway we have a kind of paradox, because we see that the EV adoption is much larger in private individual than in corporate fleets. I think now we are at almost 70% in private individual, while in fleet we are at 32% in year-to-date figures. In other countries, we see also a clear leading increase in Netherlands and in UK, which are also far behind the others. In general, we see a very positive trends in many countries. I can also mention that the trend is very positive in France, in Belgium, in Sweden, for example, even if it starts from, let's say, lower figures. But we clearly see also a clear increase in terms of EV penetration.
So being here in Norway, do you get a lot of questions from colleagues in countries like other European countries? Your colleagues there, are they interested to learn from you?
Yeah. You know, we have inside Arval we have built an EV hub, what I'm leading with my colleague in Paris, where we try to learn from the Norwegian experience.
That's natural, I guess.
Yeah.
So. How do you see alternative mobility solutions developing going forward and coexisting? Will it replace the vehicles that the employees have? Or I'm thinking mobility solutions, especially now when you think about Corona and maybe less cars also, especially in cities.
Yeah, I think if we look, let's say the car has been the historic assets in terms of individual mobilities. And the car will still be the main asset. So I don't think that the car will disappear. What we see is that new kind of mobility are coming, bike, e-bike, e-scooters, also the public transport has already been there. And we see that during the COVID times, clearly there was a need for safe transport. So as a car and bike, for example, has been clearly strength, while public transport has fallen. So in fact, what we see is that the car will remain the main asset. The car will maybe use differently with car sharing, pool riding, all that kind of new usage will start to be implemented. So we may find somewhere else less car in some circumstances, but the car will remain key. And this is a combination of all this alternative mobility around the car that will make what we call 360 mobilities.
So does that mean that you at Arval are also looking into offering mobility on a wider area
Yeah.
than just cars.
Yeah, so there is already many markets where we have developed an offer for e-bike lease, for example, together with the car. We have also some markets where we are developing B2B car sharing because there is also a big need like this, and we have some customer that clearly ask for it. Yeah.
But as you were already mentioning, it's in Norway at least, it's mostly in the private purchase that people are choosing EVs, although it's also growing in the leasing market. What do you see as the most important factors to boost EV adoption by corporate businesses?
Clearly, I see four very important factors. So the two mains concerning the usage of the car are first the range of the car. So we need clearly a car with longer range. If we look historically, for example, in the LCV market, the existing offer
so you're
has
talking
been
about the light commercial vehicles,
yeah, light
right?
commercial
because
vehicles.
it's when it comes to the personal cars, it's the range is pretty. It's good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it was not the case a few years ago.
No.
So the range is very important. Then the charge is very important. So and we need to ease the charge.
Payment solutions.
Payment solution. So ease the charge, of course, at home, at work, and also on the roads. And we need also to offer a seamless payment solution with a good roaming systems. So this is two important factors. And then the two other important factors are concerning, let's say, the TCO of the EVs.
The total cost of ownership?
Total cost of ownership. So everything which is linked with the cost, residual value, cost for tires, maintenance, insurance, accident management, and so on. And one also very important factor is the fiscality. Fiscality for the employee who uses the car, and also the fiscality for the company who pay for. So we need also that the four factors are aligned to have a really boost EV adoption. So this is what Norway has done, at least with the EV policy and all the advantage that we can have driving an EV here.
Yeah. Okay, we have one last question we have time for.
Yeah.
How do you see the EV development going forward in the European Union or in European countries this year, next year?
I think at least for fleet business, it will be clearly a rising trend. So in Norway, I think also that with all the new models we will have, both in private car market and also in ELCV, it will be clearly a booster for EV adoption. So I'm quite optimistic.
A lot of interest from companies.
Yeah.
When it comes to
really a lot of interest of companies. We see also that in some countries, for example, like UK, they took some measure to for the benefit in kind to reduce it clearly for EVs. So it's clearly a booster. France also has adopted some measure. So I'm really optimistic of a real boom.
So you just need a few more, at least when it comes to light commercial vehicles, you need a few more options, but that's coming, right?
That's coming, exactly.
Yeah. So we'll see a lot happening, especially the next year.
Yeah, at least we will keep big attention of the ELCV, because we need also to electrify the LCV sector if we want to reach our target in terms of CO2 emission.
Well, thank you, Mikael and Arval. Very nice to have you with us today. And with this, I'm saying goodbye and seeing you in November for our last webinar of this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much.